Good evening and welcome to all of you to this retreat on the Bardo Todol, the great liberation through hearing in the Bardo, in the intermediate state. I shall be leading it with Prakasha. We have an appropriate characterological division of labours. I'll be doing the sort of exploration of the background and so forth, and Prakasha will be leading the ritual element, the ritual experiential element of it. We've got Stana Shraddha, who will be creating a ritual context, a mandala within which we will all enter the Bardo. So our purpose in the retreat is to both connect with the idea of the text from Bante's particular perspective. I'll say more about that in a moment. But also to actually spend time hearing the Great Liberation read to us. That will be the main content, really. To begin with, tomorrow we will be preparing. We'll be setting the scene. I will, in the morning, give a talk which will outline the background and something of the structure of the text itself. So a little bit more theoretical, if you like, and saying a little bit more about how it fits into Bante's particular perspective. And I'll be beginning to launch the theme of death, which after all is going to affect all of us and probably affecting some of us right now. For instance, I was on the train to come here and I had a call from David Mitra, a very dear friend of mine, and he's had the word that he's got terminal cancer. It may take some time, but I imagine many people have such experiences near at hand or further away. David Mitchell is a very dear friend, and I've talked with him a lot about it, but it's still something to absorb, and of course for him to absorb, and I can well imagine that others amongst you are in contact with death in a very immediate way. So yes, I imagine this is going to be a little bit more than just a theoretical text, of course. So I'll introduce that a little bit, and then there'll be a chance to just report in smaller groups so that we know where everybody's coming from in relation to the theme. In the afternoon, I'll introduce the first Bardo. I will talk about that from the perspective that Bante gave us in the seminar on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I attended. But when I attended the seminar, I was extremely excited by it, and it had a massive effect on me. I tried reading it quite recently, and to be honest, I found it a little tedious. It's very much of its time, although you probably, if you could take about 10% of it, it's still very, very live. Well, no, it's all live, but it's the way in which it comes out is not so engaging. So I hope to distill that and present it to you, or at least in principle present it to you. Then we'll do the six element practice from the point of view of the Book of the Dead. Again, I will introduce that more tomorrow afternoon. Then in the evening, we will begin hearing the great liberation in the Bardo. And in effect, that means symbolically, we are entering the Bardo. That's the theme, that the idea behind, the vision behind the retreat, that we are going to be directly opening ourselves up to the hearing of the Great Liberation. Next 4 days, we will be plunging into that. There will be the readings every morning in a ritual context where we will gradually create the mandala of the bardo here in this shrine room. And we will, I hope, be able to open ourselves up to what the text is saying. It's very, very significant. It's the liberation through hearing. And it's clearly, as I will say a bit more tomorrow, not just a text that you would be taken through as you are dying and that would be recited after you die, but traditionally it's also a meditation text. So you would be listening to the text in a meditational context, in a retreat-like context. So hearing is central to the Buddhist tradition. You remember Shruta Mai Prajna. Shruta means hearing, and that is the traditional way of approaching texts. You listen to them being read, and as much as possible, we will try to exercise that ancient tradition and try to get into a receptive frame of mind, hear the text read bit by bit, stage by stage, and thereby follow the progress of the journey that takes place from death to a rebirth. Again, I will be each day giving a bit of a more theoretical understanding of what's happening, unfortunately in a way, after we've read it, but maybe that's okay, so that we'll get some perspective on it and see where it fits in, and hopefully enlarge and deepen our ability to listen to the text as it's being read, because there are quite a number of themes that might just pass you by. So that will go on from tomorrow evening, that's Saturday evening, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday will be surfacing and just checking in and concluding the proceedings. And Friday morning will just be a clear up and we go. So we hope very much that we can create a mood, a ritual mood, in which there's a different state of mind that we share and that we create together, so that we can go through this great experience of the bardos, and thereby prepare ourselves for what we're all going to encounter at some point, even if perhaps not so literally as the text presents it. But we'll also be preparing ourselves for the many, many bardos that come in life itself. That's broadly what's going to be happening. And maybe I should say a little bit more about the context of the retreat more broadly. The retreat is being presented by the Adhisthana teaching community, which is a community, a broad community of mostly quite senior order members, most of whom have had direct experience of teachings from Bhante, who've been in seminars with Bhante. And what we're doing, trying to explore what it is that Bhante did, not just what he said in a seminar, but what he's doing when he's presenting a seminar, what he's doing when he's giving a lecture on a text, so that we can understand better the principles on which our practice and understanding of the Dhamma is based. And partly we're trying to do that so that we can know how to take that forward. We can't just stand where he stood, but if we just individually wander off into our own personal fields, as it were, it becomes much more difficult to bring about coherence. So we want a coherent evolution, which is always faithful to the principles on which the order was founded, but at the same time is moving forward in an appropriate way to respond to ever-changing circumstances and our own deepening experience. So we want to make sure that that's more conscious. That's what we're trying to do. So at the moment, we've been just exploring together short texts which we've been sort of taking apart, partly for their spiritual import, but partly to see what Bhante was doing when he took these texts, and learn something of his method. So I'll say a little bit more about that tomorrow. But we're taking texts from Bhante. I think that's what Ratnaghosh is doing now. He's taking a number of texts connected with ethics in a parallel retreat to this one. But we're also taking texts that were important to Bhante, or that he did study, but that it's not appropriate to go back to the original seminar transcript or whatever. That wouldn't really be very easy to do. So we want to take texts that were important to Bhante and that he clearly thought were important for us, that he thought were useful to us, and he showed us how to look at them, which I found means that I can sort of look at any text now, because I've done it so many times with him. I sort of know the principles of what he's doing. So we want to make sure that's passed on. So this is something of that process that we'll be going through. There won't be so much conscious looking back to Bhante. We'll just be looking at the text, and I will be trying to draw out what Bhante had to say about the different stages. I won't necessarily be referring to it, but I'll be trying to base my exposition of it on his exposition. Other retreats, it'd be more easy to sort of explore what he was doing, but this is not the appropriate one for that, especially as with a text like this, we think the experience of the text is as important as its more theoretical exploration. I should say we also hope that this process that we've begun with the Adhisthana teaching community will roll out in other ways. So, for instance, I think there's a great deal to be explored about death and the order. It's important for us to understand better how we are to deal with death now, today, what we are to go through when we approach it. Talking to Indra about modern research on near-death experience, memories of children of purported past lives. There's a lot of research going on, some of which echoes very strongly what the Book of the Dead says, some of it doesn't. So that's interesting and important. I'm hoping there'll be a sort of spin-off from these retreats and that they will unfold in other ways. At the moment, though, we're focusing on the basic texts that Bhante explored and trying to uncover more and more what he was doing and why he was doing it. So I think that's broadly all I've got to say. We have got 32 people watching us online. There they are, from Mexico to Germany and Britain in between. I'm not sure that there's anybody from any other places. I didn't see any, but maybe they'll be coming in because of time zones. Unfortunately, nobody from India, because it's gone midnight and they're all on the big holy retreat, Holi Festival of Colours, which is a big time for big public retreats. But maybe they'll come later. So again, we must keep them in mind. I've suggested to them, I've just been with them, I've suggested to them that they build a mandala themselves in their own rooms and keep a sort of ritual space, which is how can I say it, a sort of, I think there's a word for it, but anyway, it's connected to ours. It has resonance with ours, something like that. And let's see what happens. During those 4 days that we'll be exploring the text, we'll be hearing the text, we want to have silence. We want to find ways in which we can make the text, the hearing of the text more powerful for us and more of a retreat, meant like a meditation retreat, a deeper personal experience. So if you can, please keep silence outside the shrine room, and those activities where, for instance, discussion groups, it's appropriate to talk. If you must talk, please keep out of the way of other people so that we can keep an atmosphere of silence and therefore a certain depth of receptivity, of mindfulness, and therefore openness to the power of the text. You remember Bhante speaks in the extraordinary lecture that was not really a lecture, it was a paper that he read, The Glory of the Literary World. Some of us were there present at it. It's at a friend's meeting house I passed yesterday. And Bhante read this paper, which nobody could listen to because it was so densely argued. One could only get little flashes of what he was talking about. But if you look at it, it's a remarkable work. And he's talking about a text as a world. So you enter into that world as fully as you can. And each, particularly Mahayana text, has its own laws, as it were, its own laws of gravity, its own natural laws. And you need to sort of enter into that world with its particular laws and open up to it and not try to judge it from other points of view. It's a spiritual world. And this text has a very strong world. In fact, it's the world, but totally deconstructed and then reassembling itself. And the more you can submit yourself to that, the better. I personally have a long history with this text. I first really connected with it, yes, during a very strong LSD trip, where somebody read me Edward Conser's very abbreviated version of the text, and I knew every word of it was true. It went exactly with that experience. I shouldn't go on about this. I read Timothy Leary's. Took Timothy Leary's psychedelic experiences, which is based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, on a trip, which was extraordinary. Anyway, I've also kept relating to the text thereafter. It's because I saw so clearly the truth of it at the time that I explored it under the influence. It's just abided with me and has been a bedrock for my own spiritual life, really. Everything seems to boil down to what's in it, even though you can't take it absolutely literally. But what can you take literally anyway? So you just stop thinking about what is literally true or not true and just enter into it. So I hope that you're all able to put the time aside and just open yourself up to the text and see where it takes you. It's, after all, whether you're dead or not, what it's going to be talking about is layered into you. In a sense, the three bardos are within us right now, because it's not just a journey through time, it's a sort of vertical journey or a depth journey. You're going through layers of your own mind and seeing very deeply into it. But of that, more tomorrow. So I'm going to hand over to Prakasha, who will now lead us in a puja of some sort.
Okay, thank you, Subhuti.
Do you need to be here, Prakasha, for the sound?
I do. Okay. Do you need the bell? Prakasha, do you need the bell? No. So very simply, this evening, we're going to chant the dedication ceremony
chant a mantra and have a short period of meditation. So it will be as simple as that. I'll just say a few words of introduction now. So we're dedicating this place to the Three Jewels, and we're also dedicating it as a mandala. And a mandala is an imaginal realm, and we're imagining this place, this mandala, as being surrounded by 3 circles of flames, of vajras, and of lotuses. So we're entering into this sacred place, and we can find this place to be a supportive place, a place where we feel held and able and ready to receive the teachings of the great liberation through hearing. So over the space of these few days, we can keep this awareness of this mandala, that through going on retreat here, through arriving here, through being here, we're entering into this mandala, entering into this sacred place. So we'll recite the dedication ceremony, and then we'll chant the Padmasambhava mantra. So we have the rupa of Padmasambhava here on the shrine, and the Bardo Thodol is, by tradition, a terma text that is attributed to Padmasambhava. So by invoking Padmasambhava, we're entering into the whole spiritual stream of influence and teaching that Padmasambhava embodies. So we can come forward and make offerings if we want to, and then after that we'll have a period of meditation. I'll ring a bell after about half an hour, and we can sit on or leave at that time. But I suggest as we sit, we might like to recall why we're here, why we've booked on this retreat, and why we're here, what our intention is to be here, and to connect with that intention. And just sit with that intention during the period of meditation. So I think that's all I need to say. So we'll chant the dedication ceremony in call and response, and then begin the mantra. We dedicate this place to the Three Jewels.
We dedicate this place to the Three Jewels.
To the Buddha.
To the Buddha.
The ideal of enlightenment to which we aspire.
The ideal of enlightenment to which we aspire.
To the Dharma.
To the Dharma.
The path of the teaching which we follow.
The path of the teaching which we follow.
To the Sangha.
To the Sangha.
The spiritual fellowship with one another which we enjoy.
The spiritual fellowship with one another which we enjoy.
Here may no idle word be spoken.
Here may no idle word be spoken.
Here may no unquiet thought disturb our minds.
Here may no unquiet thought disturb our minds.
To the observance of the 10 precepts.
To the observance of the 10 precepts.
We dedicate this place.
We dedicate this place.
to the practice of meditation.
To the practice of meditation.
We dedicate this place.
We dedicate this place.
To the development of wisdom.
To the development of wisdom.
We dedicate this place.
We dedicate this place.
To the attainment of enlightenment.
To the attainment of enlightenment.
We dedicate this place.
We dedicate this place.
Though in the world outside there is strife.
Though in the world outside there is strife.
Here may there be peace.
Here may there be peace.
Though in the world outside there is hate.
Though in the world outside there is hate.
Here may there be love.
Here may there be love.
Though in the world outside there is grief.
Though in the world outside there is grief.
Here may there be joy.
Here may there be joy.
Not by the chanting of the sacred scriptures.
Not by the chanting of the sacred scriptures.
Not by the sprinkling of holy water.
Not by the sprinkling of holy water.
But by our own efforts towards enlightenment.
But by our own efforts towards enlightenment.
We dedicate this place.
We dedicate this place.
Around this mandala.
Around this mandala.
This sacred spot.
This sacred spot.
May the lotus petals of purity open.
May the lotus petals of purity open.
Around this mandala.
Around this mandala.
This sacred spot.
This sacred spot.
May the Vajra wall of determination extend.
May the Vajra wall of determination extend.
Around this mandala.
Around this mandala.
This sacred spot.
This sacred spot.
May the flames that transmute samsara into nirvana arise.
May the flames that transmute samsara into nirvana arise.
Here seated.
Here seated.
Here practicing.
Here practicing.
May our mind become Buddha.
May our mind become Buddha.
May our thought become Dharma.
May our thought become Dharma.
May our communication with one another be Sangha.
May our communication with one another be Sangha.
For the happiness of all beings.
For the happiness of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
With body, speech and mind.
With body, speech and mind.
We dedicate this place.
We dedicate this place.
Om Aham Vajraguru Padma Siddhi. 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 Om Aham Vajraguru
Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi. Om 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 Vajra Guru Guru Padma Siddhi. Om Om Vajra Guru
So we'll have a period of meditation now. We'll ring a bell after half an hour. And just recalling our intention, motivation. So now we're entering the mandala.